January the 23rd, 2026. Guys, I'd like to take a look at a couple of the different models of the storm coming in, kind of like what we do during hurricane season, and compare them. But what we're looking at here is what's called the NAM 3K, and it's near surface reflectivity. Let's let this thing play through. Starting today, this Friday afternoon, you see the rain building up in here in Texas, and it starts to rapidly expand into Arkansas. Now, this is a mixture. You'll start to see some red coming in here, which is pretty much freezing rain. Now, check this out. We're into Saturday, covering North Mississippi with both ice and a mixture, coming into Sunday now, and we're going to start to see some lower movement of the ice coming across southern Mississippi. Not only that, right on that edge, I see a very thin line of very strong thunderstorms pushing across Alabama and Georgia, South Carolina. You see that, guys? It's like there's a warm front there below the ice and snow, but the cold weather's trying to force it through there, and you've got this conflict, cold and hot air, and just like we see in the spring sometimes. And that's terrible, because just imagine, you made it through the snow and ice. Luckily enough, limbs and trees didn't break in your area to knock out the power, and here comes a daggum tornado coming through here, or a system of tornadoes, and knocks it out for you anyway. Now that really sucks, doesn't it? But that's what we're looking at here. And a lot of the models are showing a very low sweep on Sunday. In other words, South Mississippi and parts of southern Louisiana and southern Alabama are not going to be involved in the initial part of the ice. But as Sunday comes in and this thing sweeps around, that's going to change. And then remember, there is a second system coming in before the 1st of February that we're going to have to watch. But again, ice coming into North Mississippi, snow into Tennessee, Arkansas. Arkansas, you are already, at that point, you were already almost completely covered in a mixture of sleet, freezing rain, and snow. Now we're coming into Sunday morning. This is where it really gets rough with these storms. Look at how tight and how close they are to this very cold weather. And you notice the rain coming up all the way into the Appalachian chain. That's moisture, warm moisture being pulled up from the Gulf of America, causing that warm slice of air. But again, as we get through the ice and the sleet and the snow and the rain, we're going to possibly have tornadoes through a very wide section. And why they're coming in here, and I looked in the comments, guys, there's a lot more states than I thought that are seeing the chemtrails. Now, this HRRR model is very popular as far as forecasts. Here we're going to go again. We're into Friday. Check this out, going into Saturday morning. Pretty much same scenario. And this doesn't go out as far, but this is we will have updates by the time it gets into Sunday from this map. This one is very important. It's probably one of the highest used ones that they have as far as meteorologists. Let me just pull this forward. Here we are into Saturday. Look at that. Now notice as we do this right here in south central Texas, I guess you would call her east central Texas, you're starting to see this line of thunderstorms pop up. And that's going to continue on the tail of this through Sunday and into Monday. We'll go ahead and move this forward. Look at that. Now, I saw a Fox News video today from, they had a reporter down in Oxford, Mississippi, the home of the Ole Miss Rebels. And they were already putting the mixture, the salt brine, I guess, from like a water truck, but the salt brine on the highways and the roads there in Oxford around the campus. Just, let you guys know that they're very concerned about it. Not only that, the National Guard has been called out in many places because of this. We're talking about 2,000 miles of damage, possibly a week or more of power outages all through this area. And again, the ironic part is you could lose it via tornado after all of this is said and done from the low pressure system. Let's look at another model. Now, this is the WRF model, and it goes out through Sunday. It extends a little further in time. Let's check this out again. Your snow, your mixture, your ice line right along here. Notice it's two ice lines as it splits and comes through Louisiana. Then the storms are following here, but look, right behind it on Sunday, and I talked about this in the last 2 or 3 videos, there's going to be a sweeping at the last moment, maybe 2 or 3 hours of ice for South Mississippi, South Louisiana, and South Alabama. But again, we'll watch this. We're now into Sunday morning here, and watch it get some storms here, and then look right there in the last frame. You see that? I'm going to move it there, and we'll stop it. That last frame indicates a lot to me, because when we were looking at the first 2 models that ended on Saturday night, we saw these storms forming, right? What it did not show was that we still had more moisture behind it here, following in this dip of cold air. Now, this is as far as it goes, but look how deep this ice is. I mentioned it earlier. Out into the Gulf of America, south of Galveston, all the way through Louisiana. So as it sweeps Monday, we're going to see that. But again, right here, this is central Mississippi. Our county's right in there, just south of Jackson. You got a low pressure setting here. That's why the storms are setting up like they are. But then look what happens. So there's going to be enough damage from the ice, snow, and all of that. And like tonight, guys, we are currently at 54 degrees, but the winds are supposed to kick up here in central Mississippi tonight to about 30 miles an hour and getting down to 28 or so below freezing. So it's starting tonight, just like they had talked about 2 or 3 days ago, not with the ice here, but with that cold Arctic blast. And it takes that cold air, it has to get in front of the moisture and settle in and get everything good and cold before we get into the conditions we're setting up now. And that's what we're seeing tonight. That's what we're going to see. As it gets later, it's 5:33 p.m. Central Time right now. You'll start to see that wind pick up. Let me play this on through. Again, this goes on through from Friday to Sunday. Rain's coming in, but notice something right in here. Out in front of this section, coming into through Arkansas, in front of the heavier ice, there appears to be some starting to form already here early in the evening. There we go. There's the tornadic front right through here. And then look at that. Sweeping. That's ice, guys. Sweeping from below Houston, Texas. And that's something they're not talking about. They're saying most of it's going to be a little further north. But this is not over with yet. I just wanted to come here and show you the differences in some of the models. Just like I said, when we watch the hurricanes coming in, kind of get an idea. And then you can average between them as we get closer. But we are here. Today, it is basically the last day of prep time. It doesn't mean you can't tomorrow some. You want to be dressed and ready for a little more rugged weather. High winds, cooler temperatures. Again, tonight, below freezing because of that wind. But we're watching, guys, you watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.